All right. Without further ado, this is Mosk. I know I promised that I was going to start a manifesto a little over a week ago, but life happens sometimes. I've spent about 4 hours today working on IS Boxer, and then about another 3 hours working on getting the recording to work and the compression to work, double checking just to make sure that I can get everything produced. So here we are finally. So this is going to be a two-part production. I'm going to first go over exactly how my Iceboxer works, and then I'm going to show you some in-game footage with me playing and show you exactly what it looks like. So obviously, if you're not using Iceboxer, you need to use Iceboxer. There's nothing out there with this kind of functionality. It's absolutely amazing. I've tried to use HotKeyNet before and for some things, and it's okay. But trust me, Iceboxer is where it's at. You need to the $10 for every 3 months is nothing compared to paying for your accounts. I don't want to hear people complaining. So overall, I think I really enjoy boxing Star Wars: The Old Republic so far. So when we go over the actual in-game footage, I'll talk a little bit more about that and kind of what teams I think will work and what teams might take a little bit more effort to see come around. But so here we are. So first off, I don't use the quick setup, and the reason for that is because I think it's really important that you understand exactly what your buttons do when you press them. And if you use the quick start, you'll never really understand what Boxer is doing in particular instances, and it kind of makes it hard to tweak it. So for me, being able to tweak my setup is one of the most important things. I want to be able to play with each tiny specific part of the keys. And I can show you in Boxer. There's with Tor at least there's a ton of functionality that I've gotten out of this that I wouldn't get otherwise. So if anybody wants it, I can probably export my setup and put it up for download somewhere. I think I can probably swing that. So anyways, what I'm going to explain, any person that's used Iceboxer just a little bit should probably understand everything I'm going to explain how to do. So first off, I have my 8 characters here. I have my set of warriors and my set of sorcerers. The sorcerers are the Tor 1, 2, 3, 4. The warriors are 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I have one character set apiece. So the way that I have my setup set up broadly is that when I hit a key to swap to a window, it also activates the key map for that window, and that tells all the other windows that that's the leader. And I know that you can use these virtual mapped keys to accomplish that, but I do not understand how they work. I don't. I'm sure if I sat down and I played with it, I would get a sense for it. But I know how what I do works, and that's good enough for me. So, anyways, so we're just going to look at my sorcerer setup. My warrior setup is basically the same thing. So you see the slots 1, 2, 3, 4. No virtual mapped keys, no variable keystrokes. If you go to general, the first thing that you absolutely have to have turned on is make game believe it is foreground window. And the reason that you have that set up is so that when you use WA, like you can set your arrow keys or whatever keys to send to your alt screens to move them. It won't work if you don't have this option checked. Also, your jump button won't work if you do not have that checked. Now, the downside to that is if you click on your character slot and you go to your performance tab and you set up each particular window to use different CPU cores, and then you limit the frame rate and foreground and background, I don't know if it's a bug in Boxer. I presume it has something to do with the game, but it will only ever use the foreground frames per second, because I assume Boxer is telling or is reading that it's the foreground window. I don't know for certain, but my experience is if I have them all set to 60-30, my 3 alts are trying to run at 60 frames per second, and it definitely impacts my performance. So that's one downside I've seen so far. For reference, I have an i7-920 that's not overclocked, 16 gigs of 1600 DDR3, and a GTX 550 Ti. And all my settings in game are floored. The anti-aliasing is turned off, obviously. And I get pretty good frames per second. I get about 50 or 60 frames per second on my main, and then in Fleet maybe 20-30 frames per second on my main. So the way that my setup works, like I was saying, is I have my 4 slots, and then I have a hotkey to switch to each of those characters. So I have home, and then page up, and page down swaps to my 4 characters. And then when I swap to that character, when that window comes to the foreground, when I hit that key, it also activates the key map. So you can see each team has 5 total key maps. It has 1 for each specific character, and they're identical to each other. The key maps are identical apart from their target me and assist me keys. And then the control key map is the one that runs everything, basically. So you can see I have activate slot 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then I have a button to turn off all of my key maps, and then I have one button that turns on mouse repeater, or swaps mouse repeater. So when you look at these actual keys, all it does is the key map, it turns key map for Sorc 1 on, it turns the other 3 off, and it ensures that the control key map is on. The control key map is like a master key map. If you accidentally turn that off, you need to reload your team. And then it sends me a pop-up text that just says that slot 1 is now active. So they're all identical, and their hotkey is the same as the hotkey that brings that window to my main screen. And you can see what my window layout looks like right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1 is where whatever guy I'm playing is, and then 2, 3, 4. Like normally, what happens is this is character 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1 comes over into here. 2 comes over when I hit page up, and then when I hit end, 3 comes over, and 4 comes over when I hit page down. So that's how I handle swapping, and I've noticed that even in Battlegrounds, as long as I join as a group, it will arrange me in the Battleground as that group, and it'll even arrange me in that specific order. So far that I've seen, you would be able to Battleground without a problem. That's been my experience so far. With this setup, I mean to say. So we talked about how I control it a little bit. Let's actually go look at sort control. So like I said, brings them to the foreground. This one shuts everything. It shuts everything off. The sorcerer key map's off, but it leaves the sort control key map on, and that's so that I don't have to reload my team in order to turn my keys back on. This is for like if I want to stop and type in guild chat or type to somebody or something like that. And it also sends a pop-up text that all my key maps are now off. So let's go actually look at one of my actual key maps. So I've pretty much described how everything else works. I've talked about all the little things you need to have done in order to make your team work. So I'm going to pull this up so we can kind of look at all my keys.